Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to do an overview of new quizzes in Canvas. So the first thing to know about new quizzes is you can't add a new quiz directly to a module. You have to make them in the Quizzes tab over on this left-hand navigation menu. So we'll click Quizzes, and then we'll click the plus quiz button. And then we have the choice whether to create a classic quiz or a new quiz. And for this, we're going to do the new quiz. So this is where we can start setting up our quiz and give it a name. So we'll just call it sample new quiz for video. You can set your point value. You can decide what assignment group you want it in. For us, let's just put it in quizzes. Decide on your display and whether or not this counts toward the final grade. New quizzes are treated as an external tool, so that is going to be the submission type. Whether it syncs to your district's SIS, which is dependent on whether that function's allowed, and then who to assign it to. And then we're going to go ahead and click Save. Now, this will take us to the build screen, which looks quite a bit different than the classic quizzes. It seems like just like a completely separate interface, and really that is kind of how it behaves. So some of the things to know will kind of look familiar. I mean, we can add instructions for students. Do your best. And you'll notice that the rich content editor does look slightly different, and we'll just say that we're done though. And then we can start adding questions with either this blue plus button, or we can pull questions from an item bank. So let's go ahead and just start a new one now, and we'll just do a multiple choice. How about that? And the multiple choice question title for this one, maybe we'll just call it multiple choice. And here is where we actually add in the question step. So what color are Smurfs? And then we can type our answers in here, and the distractor, blue, green, red, yellow. And then we can decide whether we need a calculator for this. Clearly on this one we don't. You can have it mix up the answer choices, so that might be nice in case students were sitting next to each other and you were worried about people peeking at each other's screens. And then we do have the option to put this into a question bank if we wanted to, and then we'll just say that we're done. And then we again can keep adding questions that way, or if you do have item banks, we can also add questions from these item banks. So we'll go ahead and click there and put in this question. And maybe we want to grab one more from an item bank. We'll go back to item banks here. We'll do the states bank. And maybe we want this one. Okay, so that is how we can add questions that we've saved already into an item bank. Now, once we start building the quiz, we can go and look at different sections too if we want to make any adjustments at all. So we have lots of different settings that you can choose. You can choose to shuffle the questions so they appear in different order for different students, shuffle the answers, which we kind of talked about. If it's helpful, you think, to have students just view one question at a time, that's available. Access codes are great if you teach multiple different sections of the same class and you don't want students accessing it early. You can set up a time limit if need be. Filtering IP addresses would mean that students would only be able to take it in the building. Clearly during this remote learning time, that is not something we'll want to do. You can allow a calculator for the quiz, allow it to be taken multiple times, or restrict the students from seeing the results. The report section, now the quiz can be graded in SpeedGrader, but here you can have an overall quiz item and analysis and outcomes analysis once students start completing this quiz. And then this tab, the Moderate tab, is really cool because if you have students who need accommodations, you're able to edit the student's accommodation for time adjustments and give additional time or remove time limit. And that will hold for any new quiz that you create. So maybe the student needs no time limit, and we'll just save that. And then that way that student will never have that, or will always have that accommodation. If it's something that just needs to be done for this quiz only, you can click the moderate button and then adjust it just here. So this would remove the time limit, but only on this quiz for that student. So there's one more quirky little thing about new quizzes that is important to be aware of. You'll notice as we were adding questions here, they each have a 1-point value. And that means, since we have 3 items here, that it would add up to a total of 3 points. However, if you remember in the beginning of this, when we began setting up this quiz, we set the point total as 10. That will not change automatically. So if I want to change that point value to, say, 3 overall points, I do need to click Return, find the quiz in the Quiz tab, and then click on these 3 dots, and we're going to say Edit. And then here, we're going to change the point value to match the actual amount on the quiz, which was 3, and then scroll to the bottom and click Save. So that will not adjust itself automatically and does have to be done manually through those steps. So that is it. That's how we can build, change some settings, look at reports, and change accommodations in the Moderate tab. And in subsequent videos, we'll take a look at some of the different items and how kids can use them and how they can be built. All right, so that's an overview of new quizzes. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.